not everybody at once.
I mean, it's day 2, so I mean, what's been a focus, for you in the offense in training camp?
Oh, it's like it always is. Fundamentals, right? The fundamentals at each position is so critical. The building blocks of a successful play start there. Great fundamentals. Spend a lot of time, establishing the core values there, the core principles of what those fundamentals are at each position, and then transitioning to, plugging those into the full team concept, whether it be pass game or run game. So fundamentals, timing, rhythm and timing in the passing game, formation recognition, signals, getting in and out of the huddle, huddling up, all that good stuff.
Is there something from either the spring or maybe limited time in the summer that you're trying to maybe build off of in these first couple of days?
Yeah, just in general, I mean, I see it as a continuation. Like even though we're kind of starting over with install and starting from ground, from the first installs and the very basic building blocks as the offense, we had 15 days and a lot of practices of learning, and so I'm trying to, kind of blend, kind of a hybrid, approach as far as be mindful starting over, but yet kind of picking up where we left off to challenge these guys from a learning curve, because it's a quick turnaround for the first game. So we have a lot to get in, a lot to get better at, a lot to refine and to teach before we're game ready.
Bert kind of talked about the personalities of your 2 top quarterbacks, Art and Tommy, but how are they different in your minds? How are they similar?
Well, I mean, I think they're similar in the fact that, they've played football, they've played in a lot of games, they work at their craft, they're talented. Obviously they're from the same state, and that's been made a big deal about. And I think that, I think they have fun with it, but they're their own person, and it's, Chase and Sidney Brown are their own person, so just because you're from the same state doesn't mean that you're, real similar. But so those are the similarities. And then when you talk about the differences, I mean, I think just, personality-wise, they're a little bit different. Art's kind of a, I don't know, he's outspoken and, kind of bold and strong and all those in a positive way. And not that Tommy's not, but Tommy's a little bit more, laid back and relational, and Art's very relational too. So I don't know. Without getting too much into it, I don't know. I mean, we probably need to take a personality test and figure out if they're type A or type B. My wife would put them on the, what is that, the Enneagram spectrum, a 1 or a 7. She's always telling me, I can't remember what number I am. I think I'm a 4, but.
Coach, can you just comment on the quarterback room in general? Do you like how it's coming together, and not just for this year, but for future seasons?
I do. I like where we're going there. I like the additions to the room that we've had since since spring was over. So right now we have 3 new faces. And so all 3 of those guys are. And then Art's kind of a 4th face to a certain degree because he's on the field, and that's a whole different deal than him standing back there. So yes, I think that has been positive. I think the guys are very engaged, and you got to have depth at quarterback. You got to have guys, you got to have competition, you got to have people there, and I feel good about who we got there and how we're building that forward.
You've seen Donovan Leary all of 2 days now. So what's his skill set?
He's just kind of, I would say he's very balanced. Just as a player, not necessarily meaning his equilibrium, but just kind of what he brings to the table. He's got a lot of polish. He's very fundamentally sound, and but there's a lot to, a whole lot to learn, and but he's very eager for that. One of the better incoming freshmen ones I've been around before from a standpoint of his eagerness and wanting and his willingness to learn and soak up information. He's a sponge in that regard, and that'll really go a long way for his development.
Kirkland's a really interesting story, of course. But what did you see out of him in his one big year at high school, and nowadays getting back into the sport? What's that coming back to it like?
Well, I think I see on the field kind of what I saw when I didn't see him play in high school in his senior year, but I think he's a guy that belongs here. I think and to what that looks like and what the long-term result of that will, I think, depend on a lot of factors, but most notably him and his development and his desire to learn and grow and be a sponge. But he's been a great addition, I think. You could tell one thing about him is, and him and Donovan too, like when they get in there as a freshman, like he's, you can tell he's operated before at a high level. And even though it's been high school, he's been in there and like I shoot today, I think he's told me probably like 45,000 people in a state championship game, So that's experience, and that's a good thing. So long ways to go for him, but there is some talent and some tools there that I think us for sure we welcome here, and we're certainly glad he's with us.
You didn't mention the arm talent of those 2 guys. Can they make all the throws?
They can throw it. They can throw it. There's no doubt.
How many new faces at wide receiver, especially like Cody Case and Jonah Morris, kind of bring to that room and to your offense?
I think experience. They've had a lot of game experiences. They've been in a lot of different offenses, and they're very different, and even maybe probably their roles to some degree, but and who they are and what type of receiver they are. But I think that we were intentional about trying to look for people that could supplement maybe from an experience and maturity standpoint. Not that our guys are immature by any means, but we're just kind of a young group overall, and so I think those were good additions for us to help supplement just our maturity in the room overall.
How nice were those summer practices? I know you had spring ball to come in, but you never had that before in the summer with those guys.
Yeah, it was great. I mean, and I thought we had a good balance in how we approached it. And so you can, the continuation of, the spring. Back in the day, my day or whatever, 2-a-days. The reason you did 2-a-days is, because once you were done with spring ball, you didn't see them for like 3 months. So you get them on campus and you're like, we got 4 weeks of practice. We better practice hard. And matter of fact, let's practice twice. And some guys 3 times. I think that's probably where that started, somewhere along the line. And so the rules have shifted a little bit. Not only do we get the 15 practices, we get some time with them on our hands, to develop and train them in the summer. So there's a continuation here. I'm not saying 2 days aren't needed or whatever, that we'd love to have them, but we would. But the rules have made it such that works really paramount, and it helps your continuation of learning. So there's a more continuous flow of the learning and instruction when you get to fall camp.
Has that helped you? I mean, you feel like you're further along?
Oh yeah, it certainly doesn't hurt, right? I mean, there's no way that's a negative, and so I do think it's helped us. I think that was noticeable yesterday.
And we're in a unique place where there can be a guy like Palcho who's in his 6th year of college football, and unique to him, 6th year as a starter, likely. Just what's the value in that, especially with you bring in 5 freshman offensive linemen too?
Yeah, I mean, what an influence, and it's not just him, but his story in particular. I mean, Pilstrom too. I mean, he's a pretty experienced guy. He pales in comparison to Pouch, but who doesn't? And yeah, I mean, it's phenomenal to think. It's really phenomenal to think about the games he's played in. And he called me. We talked after the walkthrough last night, and he was telling me about a play that they had some success with, or just and he was like, and back in 2016, or 17, we ran a play, and I was thinking, wait a minute, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, yeah, he was here, It seemed like a long time ago, and so that it was a reminder to me that he's been around a minute, seen a lot. But we're over there last night doing a walkthrough, and his time's up. He's not going. The next group's going, and he's over there walking through the walkthrough, and his approach is infectious. And it trickles not just through his position, it permeates to the organization of the unit, the offensive unit, and that's the kind of leadership you need. I'm excited about him.
What is his approach? It seems pretty aggressive at times.
Him?
Yeah.
Well, he loves to play football. I mean, you can't get in there and bang around for however many games he's played without loving it, and then having the opportunity to, come back, shows you how much he loves this place, his teammates, and the game. And so he's just a grinder. He's a tough guy. And he's got it under control, and that's really a positive thing.
Are you pleased with the level of buy-in that you've been able to get from the guys just since you've been here in the spring and now 2 days into the fall?
Yeah, undoubtedly. I mean, it starts at the top, and I knew enough about Coach to know when I came here, what I'd be walking into from a cultural standpoint. I mean, I knew, and I knew that the players would respect him and the staff that he had around him, and so. That's always a great thing as a coordinator, because I'm just a subcategory of that, right? I mean, I'm a reflection of him, and the offensive players are a reflection of me through him, and so the vertical alignment there, that covering that he provides as a leader, helps it roll downhill naturally for those guys to listen and trust. And I've been blown away, been super thrilled with that all the way up to this point, and I'm really expecting that to continue forward through the season.
As a first-year coach, it seems like the more you get to know these players and this team and all the other coaches, that your confidence in this offense seems to grow. Is that an accurate read?
Mine personally?
Yes.
Well, I mean, I do have confidence in what we're doing and how we're doing it and who we're doing it with. Listen, I tell the players this today. I mean, listen, there's no perfect coach. There's no perfect player. It's an imperfect game, coached by imperfect people, played by imperfect. So there's going to be flaws. There's going to be mistakes. There's going to be on all levels. And it's our job to try to purge as much as that as you can, and the mistakes on my behalf, on their behalf, and get together where we play clean football and let them use the abilities they have. And I think there's plenty there for us to go out and put together a good offense with. Got a long ways to go to get there, though. We're not there yet, but I think with the work and the talent, and as we keep grinding every day, I mean that's our goal, and that's what we're working towards.
Casey Washington said something interesting to us yesterday. He was like, guys, you realize we're still pretty predicated on running the ball. He would seem like he plays a position that would his value might be in how many times he touches it or how many times he gets targets, and it doesn't feel like he operates that way.
Well, there's a reflection of the culture, right? I mean, like he knows what we're about, and he knows the baseline of what we're trying to accomplish. That's our goal, is to run the ball and to be able to have success running the ball, because it makes everything else better, right? It makes the matchups for him one-on-one on the perimeter, and he knows it takes all groups to run it. It's not just the O-line. It's not just the backs. It's all 11 guys on the field, and that's really refreshing to hear him say that. It's not surprising, for him to take that approach, because he's a tough dude that will mix it up. We got a bunch of guys out there on the perimeter that will, and hopefully through the dedication that they have, that that'll help us run the ball and create more opportunities for those guys on the perimeter.
So you go through an offensive, and so do you set benchmarks of where you want to be by the time week 0 comes, or how do you kind of gauge that?
I kind of take it one day at a time, to be honest with you. I mean, we have some vision. I have some vision of where, we have a, kind of a broad menu of where we want to go and what we need to get done. And I think each year, each team, each day is different. So you got to have the ability to improvise and adjust. And that's certainly kind of how we go about doing it. Like, hey, man, we better come back and redo this again and not move forward with the next building block because we haven't mastered that, And then there's a fine line between, being paralyzed and not moving forward to try to be perfectionist about it. So we're just kind of taking it one day at a time and trying to make it fit best to what our personnel is, what our strengths are, and what our weaknesses are.